Come on, I dare you. Tesley raised her eyebrows and her lips curled into a triumphant smirk. Are you scared, Lauren? The hallways at Laxus Academy were quiet and empty except for 5 girls standing in front of the janitor's closet. Strange sounds had been echoing through the door into the school, but it seemed only 2 of the girls could hear them in the entire academy. Tesley, the taller, slimmer, and prettier of the 2, leaned on the wall, crossing her arms and tossing her long teal hair over one shoulder. Well. A pale and skinny girl stood behind Lauren and put her hand on Lauren's shoulder. Don't do it. She's just trying to get to you, she whispered, her mousy brown hair drifting into her face, bumpy with acne. Shut up, Phlox, one of Tesley's cronies hissed, her long purple hair slashing as a ball of purple energy appeared in both hands. Did she talk to you? Phlox shrank back fearfully, and Lauren put out an arm to shield her, bright green eyes narrowed. I'm not afraid to go in there, Tesley. But someone is going to get hurt, I know it. Tesley rolled her eyes. Load of bull. Either you're chicken, or you're not, she flicked her fingers, and a bright ball of flickering teal flame appeared in her hand. Do I have to force you? Lauren swallowed, then pulled the tie from her braid, letting her long, wavy red hair fall over her shoulders. She glared at Tesley, then set her hand on the doorknob. All the girls stepped back except for Tesley, who straightened, glaring intently at Lauren as she flung the door open, and immediately all hell broke loose. A huge black creature, maybe a dog or a bear, leapt out of the closet, roaring furiously and plunging the entire hallway into darkness. Tesley's teal flame lit up the area just as she screamed, watching the girl who had silenced Phlox get impaled in the chest with a knife of black. The girl was thrown 10 feet down the hallway, and was instantly killed, her eyes glassy and navy blue blood pouring out of her chest. The creature's eyes flashed bright burning white as it locked sight on Lauren, who stabbed it with a blast of red light. It roared, more out of anger than pain, and lunged for her, tackling her to the floor and clutching her in its jaws. Lauren shrieked as a tooth cut deeply into her side and more knives of black stretched from the creature's body, killing Tesley's other friend immediately, and sending Phlox flying down the hallway with a blow to the head. Lauren screamed again as she heard Phlox's skull crack on stone. Lauren, another voice screamed, and Lauren writhed in the creature's mouth, blasting its tongue and forcing it to drop her as it yelped. Tesley was on the floor, still alive, but blood oozing from her head and chest. Lauren, help! Lauren glanced back at the huge dog, which shook its head and lunged for them again, but the 2 girls raised their hands at the same time and the thing was blasted backwards. Lauren rushed forward and knelt over Tesley's body, her hands trembling like leaves in the wind. She glanced up at Tesley's eyes, which were wide with panic, hesitating. It will kill you if you don't have my help, Tesley rasped. Blood was pooling around them, wetting Lauren's pants. She hastily ran her fingers over Tesley's wounds, and the slices closed up neatly. Lauren helped Tesley to her feet and they stood, panting, as the creature's unconsciousness slowly bled light into the hall. Lauren's chest heaved and she looked down at her shaking hands, red with blood. She gingerly touched a slice on her cheek and it healed immediately. Tesley shook her head, panting. Thanks. Tesley, you're so blind. Lauren hissed, turning on her with her hands in fists. You've gotten Phlox, Marie, and Nivea killed. That thing is going to wake up any second, and we can't let it just stay here. We have to lure it back in, she swore under her breath, her face red with frustration and her hair tangled and unkempt behind her. All because of a stupid dare, and for what? Tesley narrowed her eyes. You think I could have predicted that thing, Lauren? You're blaming this on me when we have bigger problems. Maybe we could just worry about this instead of pointing fingers. She pulled a ponytail off her wrist and quickly tied up her teal hair, brushing blood from her face. Lauren rolled her eyes. That's the most mature thing you've said today. Am I wrong? Tesley tightened the ponytail and lit up her hands with teal flame. Wake it up, mind girl. Lauren glared at her. Are you only giving me crap because I have different powers than the rest of you? She hissed as they advanced on the unconscious creature. Tesley didn't look at her. That's one reason. You're different, so you're dangerous. Lauren opened her mouth to object angrily, her fists balled, but Tesley was already speaking again. Look. You're going to have to wake this thing up, then run for your life for that door. I'm going to stand behind it and keep it moving, but you need to make sure it gets right near the door. Then I'll blast it in and we'll shut it and never open it again. Lauren crossed her arms. What if it chases you? Then we change jobs. What if it does the impale thingy? Lauren's hands twitched at her sides. Tesley shrugged. I've had a good life. Lauren's jaw dropped slightly, but she shook her head, brushing off Tesley's sudden change in attitude. She twitched her fingers as Tesley ducked behind the huge thing. 1, 2, 3. Lauren twitched her fingers and found herself in the creature's brain, and she whispered into its mind without moving her lips. Wake. The creature leapt to its feet, roaring, and darkness engulfed the hallway again. Lauren lit up her hands and screamed at it. Come and get me, you big oaf. It obliged, lunging her direction. Lauren checked to see Tesley sprinting along behind it, then took off down the hallway, her heart pounding in her chest and her muscles screaming painfully. She skidded to a stop in front of the door, and the dog crashed into her, bowling her over with a roar. Shock flooded Lauren's chest as the thing raised its paws, slamming its claws into her chest and creating deep, bloody holes. Lauren's head lolled to the side, and she felt herself drifting out of consciousness. Lauren, breathe. Tesley screamed, and Lauren twitched ever so slightly, barely alive. She caught sight of Tesley, below her for some reason, lifting the dog, which was still holding Lauren, with flames and chucking it into the abyss of a doorway. The last thing she saw was Tesley diving in behind them and the slam of the door.